All right, everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I want to film part 3 in our video series of how to complete a perfect backswing. As a reminder, this series was created and developed for you at home to take responsibility and accountability over your own golf swing. Start making motions and movements and being accountable for those motions and movements in a mirror and a video camera, somewhere in your practice facility or workspace. So let's jump right into the video. Where I left you off last time, we were about halfway back. Our lead arm was parallel to the ground. We had loaded a good amount of weight into our trail leg. Our trail leg is starting to extend. There's some tilt to our pelvis. There's some turning of our shoulders, approximately 60 degrees. There's some flexion in the lead leg. From down the line here, as we view that same motion, we were about here in the backswing. And how do we get from here and how do we arrive to the top of our backswing? What are the feels? What are the key things to look for? Let's get into that now. So again, to get here, lead arms across the torso, club's working somewhat vertically here. Wrist is pretty flat, club's somewhat up in the air. Maximum weight's in the trail leg. From here, as I continue to turn the torso and the pelvis, I'm going to lengthen the trail leg. I'm going to continue to flex the lead leg. And I'm going to feel like when I'm at the top, my trail hip is well behind me. Right? I'm really feeling like my trail hip is well behind me. There's some space between my knees here when I do that. Right? There's a little air, maybe from the camera, depending on how baggy my pants are. There might be some, there's so much space that you may be able to see some grass. But I'm not going to keep my knees perfectly flexed, keep my hips level, turn my shoulders back in a level fashion. That's going to be what really bad golfers do. So instead of that, again, we're going to feel like that trail leg continues to extend. Lead knee flexes. I'm turning as much as I can. I'm kind of maxing that out. My lead arm is covering this shoulder. If I'm a player who's really high, I'm more likely to get steep on it or come down kind of out to in. If I'm a player who's a little underneath, I'm more likely to kind of come into out. Again, that doesn't mean it's a guarantee. It's just more likely. Right? You can obviously, any player, good player, can make accommodations for kind of any position. What should I be looking at as far as the shaft orientation at the top? We know that, this is kind of across the line at the top. We know that we call this laid off, and we know that this position is kind of perfect or down the line. So obviously we're looking for the latter. So if you're a player who's too across the line, your trail arm, elbow might be getting a little too internal here. You might be lifting the club. You can see what that's doing to my lead wrist. It's getting it to really cup. It's opening the face. If I'm a player who's getting the club a lot more laid off at the top, I probably have excessive amounts of forearm roll at some stage of the backswing here. Right? Even if I'm really good in here, I might start rolling my forearms there. I might start coming out of my posture. This club's pointing in an obscure spot at the top. Instead, let's work on things that are going to get it pointed more down that line. So, again, we're looking for this kind of look. All right, so that looks pretty good there. And again, I'm not hitting a ball, so some of these positions are a little manufactured. A great exercise I could do at home, kind of sticking with the theory of the alignment rod. We'll take a third of it. We'll put it halfway down, 2/3 outside. Just start being aware of where it is, of where it's pointing at the top, right? Across the line looks like, look where that alignment rod's pointed. If I come out of my posture, roll my forearms too much, it's pointed over there. If I maintain my tilts, lengthen my trail leg here a little bit, wow, it's pointed much more down that target line, isn't it? Now I'm in a really good position to kind of start opening my body and turning into it. So that's what I'm looking for there. What about the club face? What about the orientation of the club face? We know this. A club face at the top that's hanging too down is too open. A club face that is pointing too upwards, where I could put a glass of water on that club face, is too closed, and somewhere in here is generally square. Now, it could be slightly open, I could be slightly closed, but how do I measure that? How do I manage that? I'm going to show you how to do that right now. What we do is we swing to the top of our backswing. I'm just going to use this magnetic tool to help me. And as I go to the top of my backswing, essentially, I'm looking for the club face and this angle of my lead arm to mirror one another, right? So if I wind up to the top of my backswing here, I'm looking them to kind of mirror each other. And that's what I know what square is. If it was wide open, you might see a cupping in my wrist, depending on my grip, but you would see that toe hanging. Conversely, if it was really shut, you might see some flexing in my wrist, and the face really to the sky. So really kind of getting those to kind of mirror each other, right? The line between the heel and the toe and the lead forearm. So that's how you tell. Now, a lot of that is influenced by your grip style. What does that mean? That means that if I have a neutral or weak grip, that's a grip where the thumb's going a little down the middle, the line or the V formed between my thumb and forefinger. That crease there might be going into my chin or barely my right ear. Then I'm more likely to have a flex in my wrist at the top. If I have a stronger grip, an excessively strong grip, where my lead hand is really turned, right? For me, I'm a righty. My left hand's really turned to the right. I might have a little more cupping in my wrist, but the face may be okay. Some of that's predetermined by your grip. But if you have a neutral grip, you should really be looking to see a flattish wrist at the top, or even a little bit flexing of that wrist at the top. You at home who's tending to slice, come over the top, maybe hit a shank, all your friends are saying you're steep, you don't feel like you're ever hitting that draw ever, the face is too open. It's hanging down too much. A good feeling for you is on your lead hand is that thumb is a little more to the side on the grip, less underneath and more to the side. The sheer weight of the club and your thumb being to the side will help get it a little more closed. It'll also help your downswing, right? Going back into the lower body here. If I put a post here and I wind up to the top, all my weight, all my mass kind of loads into that leg to here. And now my right hip, my trail hip, for right-handed golfers, my right hip, my trail hip starts to recenter and work inside of that. I want to be clear. I'm not going here, right? But I'm not going this way either. My knees aren't buckling. So I'm almost creating like a recentering of the pelvis, right? So if that's touching the right hip there, boom, the leg lengthens enough to create a golf ball, 2 fingers worth, a pinky's worth. Some level of recentering is getting your lower body's mass back on top of that ball, right? That's helping us not get over here. Sometimes you see these players that sway their lower bodies, their upper bodies look this way. Conversely, you'll see players, bring their pelvis forward and then their upper body has this look to them. So just get in a mirror, kind of work some of these neutral positions. When I'm at the top, I'm feeling my weight 50-50. There's schools of thought here where some people believe there should be more mass to the right. Other schools believe there should be more mass to the left. For today's purposes, let's get everything just nice and centered, right? So again, just as a little rehearsal here, we're gripping the club, lead arms against the torso. Feels nice one-piecey here, club's working up. I'm really winding up to the top, right? For me, I really feel the trail hip working back. Love the look of that right there, right? I'm not really hitting this golf ball, so it's not going to look as good as it normally does. All right, now I'm in a position to kind of start down. So I hope you enjoyed this video series. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please remember to like this video, subscribe to our channel, comment below, and comment any ideas or suggestions you have for other videos so we can provide more content for you, the user. Once again, I thank you as always.